The Batman is getting a sequel and spin-off series. Here's what we know so far. The forecast this week is looking cloudy with the chance of vengeance as the Batman prepares to swoop into theaters all over the world. This moody mystery movie starring Robert Pattinson as Gotham City's Caped Crusader is already being hailed as one of the best Batman movies ever made. And thank goodness for that, because it's Batman week all week long here at Nerdist. That would be pretty awkward otherwise. Like when two guys are beating each other to death and they realize their moms have the same name.
Why did you say that name?
Anyway, based on reviews from Nerdist senior editor Kyle Anderson and other critics who aren't Nerdist senior editor Kyle Anderson, the Batman is poised to make a Bruce Wayne's worth at the box office this weekend. So naturally, it should come as no surprise that talks about a sequel to the Batman are already underway. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, Lounge, when it comes to all of the tie-ins and spin-off series coming out of the world of the Batman.
I want Batman, Superman, or someone who can do something.
And with that said, we're going to break down everything we know about this prospective sequel, the HBO Max spin-off series, and why you probably won't be seeing Matt Reeves' version of the Man of Steel anytime soon. Now, we won't be spoiling anything for the Batman itself, but if for some reason the mere mention of his name makes you cower in fear for spoilers for the upcoming movie, well, now's your chance to leave. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? The Batman sequel plans are in fact underway at Warner Brothers. During an interview with Film UK, which we spotted via Showbiz Cheat Sheet, Reeves said, "You don't make movie number 1 as if there's going to be number 2. You have to make number 1 as if you are swinging for the fences, and it has to be a movie that stands and lives on its own. But I really believe in what we've done, and I'd be excited to tell more stories, and we are already telling other stories in the screening space. We're doing stuff on HBO Max, we're doing a Penguin show with Colin Farrell, which is going to be super cool, and we're doing some other stuff too, but we have started talking about another movie. But right now we'll just put it out in the world. I'll try to enjoy this." Well, to be fair, the movie is very enjoyable, which might be a weird thing to say about a film involving serial killers, gruesome murders, and the darkest version of Gotham City yet, but Reeves isn't alone in wanting to explore other aspects of his vision for The Dark Knight, because in an interview with Fandango, Robert Pattinson affirmed that he would like to keep playing Batman and has spoken with Reeves about a potential trilogy. It was so fun doing it. I mean, I'm down to do it as many times as people want to see me, really. We've got to get this one out first. I talked to Matt about the idea of doing a trilogy, and that would be wonderful. I really enjoyed the process. It's such a fun character to play, it would be lovely. So the question then becomes, what would a sequel to the Batman even look like? Well, it's not a spoiler to say this film dangles a few plot threads that could be explored in future outings. Reeves has actually gone on record already talking about one major Batman villain he would love to utilize in a future film, and that's Mr.Freeze.
All right, everyone, chill.
Alright, well, maybe not exactly like the version we saw in Batman and Robin, although I will always treasure my collectible McDonald's glassware. Now, as seen by this version of the Riddler in the Batman modeled after the real-life Zodiac Killer, Reeves' approach to the Dark Knight and his rogues gallery is one rooted in realism. Well, insofar as a billionaire running around fighting crime in an elaborate costume can be considered realism. During a Q&A that Nerdist took part in along with other members of the press, Reeves said, "In my view, I just feel drawn to finding the grounded version of everything. So to me, it would be a challenge and an interesting way to try and figure out how that could happen. Even the idea of something like Mr.Freeze. That's such a great story, right? I think there's actually a grounded version of that story which could be really powerful and could be really great. Indeed, Mr. Freeze's tragic story involving a genius scientist's doomed quest to find a cure for his wife's terminal illness was brilliantly explored in the Emmy Award-winning Batman the Animated Series episode Heart of Ice. So using that as a template for a sequel to the Batman when coupled with Reeves' sensibilities could make for a powerful combination. As for other villains we haven't seen on the big screen before, like, say, a Clayface or a Man-Bat, well, Reeves had his own thought about how to approach the more fantastical aspects of Batman's enemies. So I love the fantastical side of Batman, but this iteration obviously, while being to me, I think it's very comics faithful, but I don't think that this one is necessarily, it doesn't lean as hard into the fantastical, I guess. But I think to me what would be interesting would be to try and unwind the fantastical and see, well, how could that make sense here? And so that's kind of my view, how I see it. Of course, Robert Pattinson naturally had an obvious solution for how to bring a shape-shifting enemy like Basil Karlo, aka Clayface, to the big screen. Just get a guy and put some clay on his face. And that, folks, is why he's the world's greatest detective. Just, how does he come up with this? But speaking of those more fantastical elements, while some fans are eager to see the boy wonder himself, Robin, enter the picture, others are curious about some of the other DC Universe's heavy hitters, like Superman. Could these two team up at some point? Does the Man of Steel even exist in this world? Well, speaking with Collider, Matt Reeves left the door open to the possibility, but made it clear it's not going to happen anytime soon, if ever. He said, "I want it to feel emotionally real and to make everything feel very believable. In this movie, even further I think than what I did in Cloverfield and the Planet of the Apes movies, I tried to find the practical, believable version. If suddenly in the Batman world you discovered there was an alien that was Superman, there'd be a lot of shock. I mean, people would have to say, oh my god, and maybe that would be the one fantastical element. But to be honest with you, that's not the intention at this point, to figure out how to make that come. Look, we should be so lucky that this is a world that people embrace and that they say, oh my god, we want to see what would happen when those things collide. I think if that challenge ever presents itself, it would be an exciting one to explore, but I'd have to try and do it through this lens." Speaking of Reeves' lens, though, we know that he will keep exploring his version of Gotham City not only through potential sequels, but a pair of HBO Max spin-off series as well. After the success of Peacemaker, it seems like Warner Media is full steam ahead on leveraging their streaming service to build out offshoots of their most popular film properties, especially those based on DC Comics characters. Now, the first series that was announced is Gotham PD, a show that, much like Gotham, which ran for 5 seasons on Fox, will center on the Gotham City Police Department. As viewers will see, the Gotham City Police Department plays a crucial and central role in The Batman. Set during year 1 of Bruce Wayne's crime-fighting career as the Batman, the series will build upon the motion picture's examination of the anatomy of corruption in Gotham City. After Boardwalk Empire creator Terrence Winter left the project over creative differences in November 2020, HBO Max enlisted Gary Haji creator Joe Barton as the new showrunner. And during 2021's Summertime DC Fandom event, Reeves explained the thinking behind this show. The idea of the story was a story in which Gotham has that sort of depth of corruption, and then the idea that we could actually do a series that's going deeper into an aspect of it, which in this case is the corrupt police department and the inner workings of the city. The idea is we go back to year 1, and year 1 is the beginning of the emergence and is the first appearance of this masked vigilante that starts to unsettle the city. And you start to see the story through the point of view of these corrupt cops, and one in particular. And the story is actually a battle for his soul. But wait, there's more, because speaking of unsettling and corruption, we have Colin Farrell's version of Oswald Cobblepot. This bombastic crime lord, better known as the Penguin, isn't just a looming presence in the Batman, but he's also going to be the subject of his own spin-off series as well. First announced by Variety in December 2021, the untitled Penguin spin-off will see Farrell reprise his role in a series that will reportedly delve into the Penguin's rise to power in the Gotham criminal underworld. And speaking with Entertainment Weekly as part of the Batman press tour, Reeves expanded on what audiences can expect from this show. "I said to HBO Max, to be honest with you, the thing that was going to be the seeds of what I thought the next story could be in terms of the Penguin is that I saw there being this kind of American Dream in Gotham sort of story, almost like Scarface. The rise of this character who we all know will achieve mythic status. He's underestimated and he's like a time bomb. They were like, oh my god, we're in! And that was really exciting because by that point, Colin had already given life to this character. And while some fans were vocally disappointed about the Batman's PG-13 rating, they might not have to worry about that when it comes to the Penguin series. Speaking with Rotten Tomatoes, which we spotted via Screen Rant, Farrell indicated they're going to be allowed to do an R-rated version of the Penguin show. If we get 6 to 8 hours to do it, I just think the character could be endlessly fun and fascinating and brutal. I hear that we're going to be allowed to kind of do an R-rated version perhaps, which would be nice to explore the violence that could permit perhaps, and the darkness that could allow us to explore. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That is everything we know about the Batman sequel and spin-off series so far, and we'll keep you up to date on any further developments over on Nerdist.com. In the meantime, though, folks, it is Batman week all week long here at Nerdist, and we've got plenty of deep dives into all things Batman and Gotham just waiting for you on our website. For now, though, tell us, what do you think of this news? What villain do you want to see in a Batman sequel, and what is your dream for a Batman spin-off show?
Batboy, Nightwing, I don't know, what do you think?
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.